Well, the idea of stimulating these acupuncture points while we're praying is perhaps what is behind some of the great benefit that's accrued to having aware of Tephillin.
So it becomes like a double thing where the prayer itself is instilling a sense of tranquility, trust, belief, while at the same time the actual donning or donning of the Tephillin is stimulating these points which have a similar effect?
Similar effect, and also improved concentration and mental clarity. I have read that in olden days rabbis would study and wear Tephillin all day long, and they wouldn't fatigue.
My Rosh Hashiva did that in Jerusalem, all day long.
No. And it's perhaps some of the beneficial effect of the contact with the acupuncture points can lead to this enhanced clarity of concentration, as well as the treatment of minor mental disturbances.
Okay, so you feel that there is some kind of a culmination of the ancient wisdom of China and the ancient practice of Israeli Tephillin?
There's certainly an intersection. Whether it's a coincidence or whether it was actually somebody thought about this, I don't really know. But since few things happen accidentally, particularly in a culture such as the Jewish culture, which has been so ancient, it would seem to me that somebody planned this.
Well, some of the things that I've found out since I initially started speaking with you is that the Chinese and the Hebrews have the same kind of calendar. They have the lunar solar calendar.
That's true.
And as well as the Tibetans and the Hindu calendars, which would seem to show some kind of fundamental commonality between these people. What other proof have you found in your research?
Well, there's evidence that the Chinese culture, through the silk path, crossed through the Egyptian culture. There were silks found in the pharaoh's tombs. And since silks were not known in that part of the world, nor was the secret of silk making discovered till relatively recently, the fact that silks were there meant that traders either went to China or came from China. And in so doing, they may have brought some of that knowledge with them.
I see. So it might be that the Jews went to China to buy the silk. It's not uncommon for Jews to be merchants and to travel, as they were known to do. And while they were in China, they would come across some of this wisdom, and whether they had the Tephillin already before the Chinese or after the Chinese, they might have grasped some of the wisdom of this system and applied it to the wrapping of the Tephillin.
The real brilliance comes in the fact that there is actually a wrapping, because no other society that I know of actually wraps a leather strap around their arm and leaves it in place for a period of time during prayer. It's just unheard of. Nobody does that.
It's really a very curious and fascinating practice. So what you're saying is that the points, the meridian points?
Yeah, acupuncture points on the meridians.
Okay, that are stimulated through the normal donning of the Tephillin will be stimulated by the wrapping of the Tephillin.
Right, and provide an elevated consciousness. Just as the Tephillin is supposed to provide consciousness of God, the actual act of wrapping and donning it does that. It's actually part of what it does.
It's kind of wrapping together the
I mean,
physical and the spiritual in a sense.
You know, as we tie the knot, we are actually binding ourselves to God, and we are doing that perhaps through the stimulation of the acupuncture points.
Well, that's why we say these beautiful words, the same words that are said under the canopy when a man marries a woman, you know, Arishtich li le'olam, you know, I betroth myself to you forever, I betroth myself to you in kindness and judgment and splendor and beauty. That's
part of the wrapping, the blessing of the wrapping around the hand.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's a betrothal. Yeah.
That's fascinating. Fascinating. Now, you've really taken it quite seriously. You have some charts here and different things showing how the Tephillin indeed do stimulate the meridian points. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, as part of this study, since I have a background in chemistry and research, I decided that this was an idea that needed to be shared with the community. The community that I was able to share it with most easily was actually the acupuncture community. So I wrote a paper for the Journal of Chinese Medicine that was titled Tephillin, an ancient acupuncture point prescription for mental health.
Wow.
And so that got published in the Journal of Chinese Medicine a number of years ago. And as an outgrowth of that, I decided that I would make some specific charts, perhaps to share this knowledge within the Jewish community,
Yes.
so that my fellow practitioners who don Tephillin can do so following the halachos, but carefully to make sure that they hit the intersection of these points.
Yes, I neglected to mention that you have a PhD in chemistry, yes?
Yep, analytical chemistry. Yeah.
Wonderful. All right, let's see your charts.
Well, I made these charts up. I had an artist sit with me while I donned Tephillin in several different styles. And the first point that's contacted here is lung 3 on the arm. It's a point that falls into the category of a window of the sky point, which is meant to open up our consciousness. So the very first thing that we do is we open up our mind to the process of what we're going to be doing.
Now this is Chinese terminology.
Chinese terminology, yes, Chinese terminology. And as we continue to wrap around our arm the 7 additional straps, we contact several other points, including lung 7 and more particularly heart 7, right over in this area here.
Yes.
Okay. Lung 7 is the command point for the neck and improves the circulation to the mind. So that's a very, very important point. It increases the blood flow into the skull. Very good. Heart 7 goes by the Chinese name of Shen Men, or spirit gate. It's the pathway into our spiritual nature. And stimulating this point is used to calm the mind and steady the thought. Okay? Very, very useful points. In fact, Heart 7 is used virtually in every treatment of any mental disease that a person might come in to, and in particular, very useful in treatment of insomnia. Okay? Now, this particular style shows the Ashkenazi wrapping towards the heart. And let's now move to the Hasidic style, which wraps away from the heart. Okay. Again, we're going to contact lung 3. The Hasidic style usually puts a shin right there to emphasize, I guess, lung 3.
That's the shin is the 3-prong.
The 3-prong
shape, yeah.
right here. Again, we're hitting lung 7 as well as heart 7 also. Now, once we've done the wrapping on the arms, we then don the head Tephillin.
Now, before we go to that, is there any particular tradition that you've laid out so far which hits more meridian points than another?
The Hasidic and Sephardic tradition hit one more point specifically. That point would be heart 3.
Is that an important one?
They're all important, but in this scale of a point formula, leaving one point in or out doesn't change the basic nature of the formula.
Okay.
Okay.
So it works.
It still works.
Okay.
Okay. It still works for all of us. At the point that we start donning the head Tephillin,
yes.
That becomes very critical where they are placed. Now, the head Tephillin, of course, is the crowning achievement, and there are many, many points located all across the skull. The most important one is where I had the aha moment, which is this point here at the base of the occiput. This point here is on the Sea of Marrow and is one of 2 points in the entire point prescription or point channel system that can actually nourish the brain. And this point is often used in Chinese medicine for more severe cases of mental illness, but it's very, very powerful. The front box, or shell roche, intersects right here where the top fontanelle is. This point is frequently used in treatment of any kind of mental disturbance and is a great aid to concentration. Absolutely wonderful aid of concentration.
Wow.